I'm going to give you guys a quick intro for those of you who are here. Your time is we value your time, so we want to make sure that we make the most of it. And I know it's difficult with so many meetings and events that are taking place. So today we are continuing with the work that we started with global design leaders, where we identified some of the key issues that you are facing today, right? Not just with the pandemic, but other issues that we are facing as leaders in our different organizations. And a lot of you are in Latin America, but some of you are outside as well. And we did a study with the material that was collected during this really inspiring session that we had, where we had Selene Castillo from Scotiabank, we had Priscilla Williams from Citibank Amex in Mexico, we had Diaco Tamela, and they helped us facilitate online workshops with, some of you were there, some of you were not, but the interesting thing was this online workshop produced a series of challenges, a series of issues that you are dealing with on your day-to-day, right? And this is many things, from working remotely to keeping mentally sane, how to deal with introverts, how do you support your team, how do you keep people motivated in such a difficult time, right? So a lot of soft things that we identified that sometimes us as leaders, either we don't have the focus or the experience, or we don't have the tools to be able to kind of face these challenges. Well, today we're bringing to you someone that does have these tools and does have the experience. Jasenka, she's gonna give you, can intro herself, but I'm just gonna give you a one-liner. Basically, Jasenka works with companies like Facebook and NASA, and she helps professionals, leaders to overcome some of these issues on her day-to-day basis, right, for a long time now. So she, let's say she's a leader whisperer or a leader coach, and I have done coach with her, and it was amazing. She brought me to tears a couple of times, although that's not very difficult anyway, because I'm very sensible, very sensitive. You know, I cry with cartoons really, but she's amazing, and she's here, and she has the tools, the knowledge and experience to help you facing some of the challenges that we identified last time, right? She's not going to solve all of the problems. This is the beginning of the work that we're going to do to help you overcome some of those challenges, right? And we're going to be focused mainly on the, let's say, the soft and the person kind of skills that you need as a leader today, right? So enjoy it. I love hearing you talking. So thank you, Jasenka. Thank you for being here. And it's going to be collaborative. So ask questions and enjoy it.
I'm hearing somebody's, so maybe you can get on mute so we can, okay. Thank you, Bernie. I'm super excited that you invited me. I'm excited to start helping today and to share some knowledge and ideas for these high-level global UX design leaders in Latin America and the world and Denmark. Thank you, Christina, for staying up for us. I'll try to keep it short, although sometimes it's really hard because I talk a lot. So let me give you a little background of this weird, strange name that I have. I'm originally from Bosnia, and I had a long journey to Argentina, where I'm at the moment. Many of you might not or might remember the war in 1991. So I was spent 4 years in the war, and then after that we were lucky to kind of escape, but I was looking for refuge in Croatia, Austria, Germany. We were kicked around, we were refused asylum, and finally we found a place in the United States, but what I didn't find was peace. So I thought the best way to deal with it is to be just really busy, to chase success and try to avoid the pain. So I was doing my MBA at UC Berkeley. I got a chance to attend a class on organizational change. And the first thing that the professor asked us to do is to write my obituary. And that changed my path forever, because when I was looking down what I wanted to be written on the paper, I realized the only thing I could have written at that moment was the girl that was in the war. And I wanted to do something with the experiences and the pain and everything that I had to offer. So the class was offered by a woman who was a Holocaust survivor and had a coaching company. So she told me the only way I would be able to transcend the pain is by contributing to others. So it took me a long time, this path, to trust the humanity, but it paid off. I found my why, I faced the pain, and I got to help others through coaching. So this is what I've been doing for the last 17 years, and I help people find their potential, and now it's luckily expanded to the companies, and I can reach more people than ever. So I've been working from companies from NASA to Viacom, Google. I just closed a really big deal with Amazon and TikTok to do some of these soft skills and help people find their vision and dig deep in their potential. So any questions so far? It's not a sob story, it's a happy story. But if you have any comments, questions, you can always chat it in, and I'll have Bernie help us with the production. Okay, so what I wanted to start with is what Bernie talked a little bit about is these first parts of who we are and what you guys wanted to work on, the issues you were facing. So one, you were saying, you know, the working remotely is hard. How can we handle new people? The onboarding process. How do we spend time with these people as humans? How do we create connections? People in the situation that we're living. These are all just kept kind of repeating in what you wanted to share. How people need support, how your boss needs support. It's not about design, it's about people. How do we become more effective and more optimized? So
I don't see your screen, huh?
Can you see it now?
No.
You can't see it?
I see Tony's screen, but I just see but that's
the question.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
You can see it.
It's okay.
Can you see it? Oh, everybody can see it? Okay, so
yeah.
These are just the few questions that we were talking about. So there was a lot of stuff that we looked into, but this is like the ones that I have seen. You mentioned a lot of people, and of course at this time, this is really, really important. So before March, we had different change-related agendas with specific, okay, let's go back. Sorry, we have some technical issues back. Uno más detrás. Okay, done. Before March, organizations had different change-related agendas, and now we have shifted to another thing. So to illustrate this, I have these like 3 rings that I want to show you. So we have the first zone, which is the fear zone. Los rings. Okay. Sorry. So fear zones, this is how we immediately responded to COVID, like self-isolation, distancing, hand washing, hygiene, the way everybody responded to this emergency. Then we got into the learning zones, which emerged from ring 1. And these are your organizations, how you responded to COVID-19. So you went from self-isolation and social distancing, and then we have to figure out how are we going to work together? What does the remote work even mean? And the third one is the growth zone. This is kind of like what we're trying to figure out right now. How do we re-envision the future? What does it mean, like this new normal, and how can I deal with remote work means? How do we set goals? How we support teams? So would you like to check in or chat in for me, which zone do you feel you're in right now? Like just quick, let's see where people feel. Matthias, I had mentors and I will definitely address that. Okay, so Jaime, 2, almost 3. 3. Okay, that's great. A lot of people on the 3rd zone. So what does it mean to be in the 3? Who wants to share? Like, how did you change from like just kind of responding to remote work? And how did you reinvent yourself? Emiliano, do you want to share? Or you eating? Sorry. Daniel. You said you're in 3.
Daniel?
Okay. Daniel? Do we have Daniel? He said he's in 3, so I just thought maybe you can share with us. So.
Hello.
No? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sorry, some difficulties with the mic. For instance, in my case, I'm not working right now, but having to reinvent myself was, I consider it to be the stage 3, to be like, to be completely used to this new agenda, to have everything that is different. So I'm doing a lot of things that is related to my home and taking care of my parents. They are like on the risk stage. So, but also looking out for other work, for a new job, and also managing all the things that I want to study or practice, because I'm just switching careers to design. So in the beginning, it was very chaotic, and I couldn't manage it at all. Like at the end of the day, I didn't do like not even, I don't know, like 20% of everything that I wanted to do. And I was exhausted. It was everything very, and now it's like, it functions very smoothly, even though it's not the, I don't know, the best thing possible.
So you accepted more, like, this is where we are, now I have the new normal, how do I reinvent myself? It's not easy to be in this state, because sometimes we're still looking at the closed door. So thank you, and I think this is a great group. Often I hear people are still really stuck in this kind of fear and being in ring 2. So congratulations on being able to see the future in different ways. Salud. Salud.
Thank you.
So you probably, yes. Any
Jasenka?
questions?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, well, personally, I said group 3, but I guess I'm in 2 and maybe just looking at 3. But just to give a personal journey and just to see how it's working out for you. Number 1, Excel is a virtual employee. That's sort of like a personal starting place. So yeah, I had to do that personally. And then we needed the resources company-wide. So we got that. That was actually already in place. And then I think the part where you really start to attain depth in ring 2 is in item 2, which is the empowering the virtual work and the teams. And as a manager, you're thinking, well, I've been able to fulfill my own, sort of control my own environment to try and excel as a virtual employee. Now I've got a whole team that I'm in charge of. And I think in my journey, it's been a lot about going into that number 2. And then as the work has evolved and we've been able to find the means and the methods to be able to achieve that, then you start to think about the future because those are all sort of real important operational things of solving the job and solving for the team. But then you start to think about the future and you think, well, how much of this am I going to bring back into an office? How much am I going to leave out? And where those lines are going to be drawn in the future is kind of right now in my state, that's where the questions are now. Yeah.
And that's what we're going to address right now is how can we equip people to succeed as we move forward? And so we're talking about some actionable items because things have changed a lot, being in the office, being able to pass somebody's desk and ask how they are. And Zoom has created a different space, and that only because our brain works differently at the moment. So when you're sitting in front of somebody in their body, your brain can measure threats, and it knows like how to behave and relax. When you Zoom, this two-dimensional, we still don't know what that means. So we're figuring out in our space, like looking at 40 people, having to be present. When you're in a meeting, you can kind of look around, you get to distract. Now it's this constant stiff way of participating. So we'll talk about how we create the psychological safety and how you want others to understand. So we're in coaching, we're all kind of putting our heads together to best kind of help people with what needs to be done next. So we'll be addressing, thank you for your question. So let me first saying that quarantine might be just what you need to improve your life, your career, and your future. Because we know that everything has fundamentally changed. Routines have been disrupted. I mean, we live in this different contrast what we did before. I mean, even the handshake has been nixed. We can't hug anymore. And all these changes might not be bad because we want routines. They help us do the business. They allow us to have some kind of discipline in how we do things. But if we want to succeed in these times, we have to get out of our comfort zone. And what a pandemic had allowed us is to completely be outside of comfort zone. And so we also know that where magic happens is outside. And normally we get complacent with the routines because they keep us safe. And we have not tried to speak in front of 100 people. But you've done these things at some point in your life. You moved cities, you got married, you quit your job, you maybe tried skydiving. So whatever it is that you've done, it didn't happen in your comfort zone. So a lot of the times, like we're in number 2 and we're getting in 3 to understand what it means to reinvent. So most the things that I was speaking at was live. So I would, fly to Berlin or Australia and do these things. And then all of a sudden what it hit was like, what do I do right now? And now they've all turned virtually. They all turned virtually, and it's even better because I get to reach way more people than I ever was able to. So I want you to share with me like one crazy, uncomfortable thing you did. How was it positive? Are you still in your comfort zone? What are the reasons for not changing? And what do you want to commit to this week if you didn't do it? So you can chat in or you can share it with me. Chat in all the crazy things that are super uncomfortable you've done during the pandemic, the last 6 months. Come on, you've done some things out of your comfort zone. Did you start painting? Did you take that yoga class? Adopt a dog? Christina started to learn lettering. Oh, that's cool. Moving houses. And that's probably really hard and uncomfortable when you don't know what's going to happen next. Nothing? Nobody? Okay, so who wants to commit? Move in with the Chilean after knowing her for 1 month. Of course, Bernardo. Playing the piano, process of buying house, starting to cook for sure. Good job, Caroline. A lot of people moved, which is very interesting. That would be the last, it would be so uncomfortable for me to move right now to a new house. Awesome. So what is it, start talking to my neighbor. Love it. That's a scary thing. Cooking like never before. I mean, cooking. Or you cooking, Matthias?
I stand corrected. I was cooking.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's fine. And now you're friends with your neighbor. Yes, outside the comfort. I suggested to my team to start a happiness chart. Is there something like you want to commit right now? There's 38 people, but you want to say, I want to be super out of my comfort zone and I'm going to share with everybody. What is one miraculous thing somebody wants to just kind of throw their hat over the wall? No? Does that mean we're still stuck in ring 1 and 2?
Don't let him get away with it, Jasenka. Hit him with the stick like you did with me.
I am so surprised. Is there a reason you feel stuck? Is there a reason that you feel you can't get into a miracle zone? I mean, let's do some coaching if somebody needs it.
I actually have the opposite. I really can't find something that I am really into my comfort zone. So I'm really always doing something that I'm not 100% sure I'm doing it,
okay.
right. So that's something that always pushed me to, step in a foot after the other and check the waters, but still not in a comfort zone. So I don't know how that, where is that comfort zone really?
But also we are not trying to live in this like shiny object syndrome all the time, because we need comfort zones, right? We need these routines for you to wake up. You need to go to the gym, eat, correctly, do your job. We're not saying live in the outside world all the time, but now we can get stuck in this place of like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm waiting for things to happen. And I think maybe for you two and for Christina, you need to find a little bit more discipline and routine in what you're doing to get the focus on it. Right? Okay. Well, maybe we'll do things as we go. So some things will clarify and we can come back to the miracle zones and getting out of your comfort zone.
I have one thing to share. Kind of like Emiliano, I'm constantly doing things I've never done before. So I'm often in a place where I'm not in a comfort zone, where I'm feeling a little bit like an imposter or something like that. And then on the other hand, I'm going to adopt a pet, which is something you mentioned. And it's like, bringing a whole new living creature here and into the home. And we had thought, this is not something we want to do right now because of the pandemic. And now we're thinking.
Oops, I think we lost him. Okay. I think it's great. If you're outside the comfort zone all the time, that's where your magic happens. Just maybe you don't want to go to this other place where it becomes where you're trying to do too many things and you don't bring nothing in focus. So it's never like the pendulum on one extreme to the next. We want to be in this middle way. When I get into routine, then I'm ready to jump to a new place. So we can get into the routines right now of like doing the work. I have to finish the work. I have to, teach my kids in school, and these are all difficult things, and it sounds like we will never finish, but the comfort zone might be saying no. I mean, our miracle zone might be saying no to things. So we'll go, we don't spend too much time on it. Okay. So one thing that we really want to address today, and there's so many you mentioned, but most important is remote work. How do we deal with these things? So Gallup, you probably most of you know, it's an analytics and data company, and they've been studying the variables that influence productivity and well-being on remote workers. And one thing is most important is the leadership. It's you, it's the manager, is how you kind of create this new culture. So to equip your leaders with the things to handle the challenges, we need three things. We need trust, communication, and engagement. And so it sounds like it's uncertain, but you have a choice how you build the psychological safety with these people. We can fear or we can learn and grow. It's a choice. So how do we get into this evolution zone? Most leaders know that we have to be in a growth zone. We want to learn, because the more you learn, the more you change your mindset and others want to follow. It's being empathetic. This is so important right now because we're so fast in doing things that we forget to think about what people might be going through. Focus on creative future, because the moment you do, everybody else wants to do it with you. We have to be thankful, appreciative, and joyful. And it's hard today because so much is happening that we tend to be in this like complaining zone. So you want to be the person that's a leader to it, that comes with joy and makes others want to do the same thing. So optimism, patience, and creativity, you got it. Most people will follow somebody who is open and who has outlook on the world that's more positive. So is there any of these lists that you find difficult to deal with, particularly right now? As a leader, or maybe that you feel your leader is missing some of these. You can chat in. You're gonna have to help me out here a little bit because soon I'm gonna start feeling really bad about myself.
Why? They wrote a lot of stuff here for the previous one. Some of them are stuck in the zone.
I kind of feel, okay, focus on the future. That's hard. Patience is hard. Okay. I think I'm more focused on the now. It's great to be focused on the now. We want to be in this place. But when you talk about the creative future, okay? So Marcos, what's the issue with patience? Like, what are you expecting to happen really fast? What can you not wait for to happen?
Actually, there is always too much going on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you need complex stuff to happen very quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
they just don't, it takes time for deep changes. And sometimes it generates some disappointment, but that's just the speed things are going right now.
So you would like things to be happening faster, or you have expectations that you think you need to fulfill or they need to happen?
Yes, I believe that things should happen faster.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been hard for everybody to cope with the challenges that we are facing. And sometimes we have to adjust the speed, and it makes me impatient.
Right. And impatience comes from these expectations because I wish things were this way. And so the first step for us to get in the peaceful moment is radical acceptance. Like, I have to radically accept that this is what's happening. We can't change it. It already happened. So the moment I accept it, then I can better focus on things that I have control over. And what we have control over, the only thing is how we react to what happens. If you try to control others and events, that's where you get into the issue of anxiety.
Makes sense.
Okay. So I think like empathy is really hard because most of us think right now, I'm going through these things. It's really hard for me. And it's hard to think like what other person needs. But if we all took care of each other, I think kind of in this circle, it would augment how we're going through, how we're riding this wave. So Marcelo, I think it's more difficult because you're not side by side with the team. Okay. And this is what we're going to talk about now, Marcelo, is we're going to talk about how do you connect with the people on the team that's going to help you go through that. So I want to address 6 issues, and that would kind of address also the trust, communication, and engagement. So you want to create space for conversations, you want to invest in relationship and set the cultural North Star, you want to fight fires with candor, with directness and honesty. We want to shine spotlight on what good looks like, connect the dots relentlessly, and we want to make sure we don't unintentionally undermine the team. So create space for conversation and try to cultivate like we're all in this together feeling. So the first thing you have to do if you're a leader is you have to start listening to your team individual concerns. And I'm pretty sure everybody's thinking like, now, are you serious? Who's got time to spend with each person? But let me ask you this. How much time do you have to fix the issues, the conflict between the people, delays, turnover? You don't want people feel isolated or burn out. If they feel trapped, they lose sense of support. If they don't feel nobody's listening or they don't have anybody to interact with, that can impact the health. So it's important that you start thinking about the one-on-ones and small group needs. So this is what I suggest. One, you can pass around a survey and you can ask how people are feeling. You can gather the adjectives about how they're feeling, or just kind of asking how you doing before you do anything else. And you start realizing that everybody shares the same problems. One of the companies I'm working with, they're using Trello. So what they track agenda items, but they also, each person has a card. And in each of these cards, they can talk about what they're struggling, but also maybe they ran a 10K and everybody's is on it helping figure out what they need to do next. So what do you think, like, is any of these that you wanna, or you could use to help kind of create more, okay, do an emotional check, right? What else are you doing to help people?
So if you do a survey and they all have the same problem, which is they all hate you, what do you do in that moment then, from then onwards?
Then you quit. Then you sell your company.
I wanted to mention that if your team is small, this learning how others are feeling and empathizing can easily be done in a meeting. If you have this space that feels safe for everyone, and we used to have our process, we call it the check-in. We do it weekly, and it has become tremendously more important these times than it ever was. And I realized I had to really focus on this, because the amount of empathy we need to have for each other, given the situation, is probably much greater than it was before. Which is one of those kind of silver lining things of the pandemic. Is it's how close can we get? Now, if your team isn't small but it's large, then yes, other ways need to find, because we do this face to face.
Of course.
But
well, so this brings me to the next point. Thank you so much. And the next point is you can break your team into separate Zoom rooms or Slack channels. So you can have parents that can pull ideas, and it's not the same, the single people and the parents and different groups that we have. So you would pull parents, how they deal with the kids, how they, the strategies to do school. And then on the other side, you have this other problem. Loneliness is really difficult. It's painful. And we're now understanding that almost 21% of the people share loneliness as their biggest issue in dealing remotely. They feel alone. That's why people in US, you can't adopt a dog anymore, because everybody adopted every single dog that was in the shelter, which is amazing. But that just shows how much we need a warm body. And so when you don't feel like you can connect with somebody, your performance will be impacted. You'll be less approachable, less committed. Yeah. And people want to change, but they just can't. It's not that easy. So how do you address loneliness? Do you have groups? Are you allowing them to come together? Do they have a buddy system? Do you have a movie night, game night?
There's some cool comments here coming up. So you can take the person for walk and talk, says Christina. Check in at a personal level. And at the bridge, we've done a couple of happy hours, and we delivered beer and some gifts, some things for everyone to do a happy hour. So that was pretty fun.
But I'm really, yes, I'm stressing that these groups get together. Like if I'm alone, I need to figure out the time, like we have a movie night every week. We check in on a daily basis. I mean, these are so important. It's not just once a month we do something.
Yep. In our case, well, we're almost 70 designers right now, so it's quite a number. The positive thing is that we're not divided only by projects or tribes and squads. We are divided by practices, so design practice. So who are more interested in the visual skills, interaction, motion, UX writing, and so on. So we create communities. So we have a bunch of communities that they have their own gathers. I participate as much as I can. We have a bunch of themes that we bring into discussion. And these discussions, they continue on channels, internal channels, outside channels. So we have also this kind of like rule that you can be still discussing things at a certain level inside, but if you want to really be harsh on your comments, then take it on alternative channels, so WhatsApp and stuff like that, so that are not official.
Right.
So, and we have this informal channel as well. So from there, you know, we can talk of anything, you know. So I believe we managed to create a nice conversational culture in a way.
And that's great. And that leaders have to do that, because sometimes if I'm already lonely, I don't have a way to start creating these things. So you have to kind of say, Mondays we do beer, Tuesdays we do a movie, Wednesdays we different things. And I reconnect with people when I was living abroad, and all friends from college. But that's also a different group that you want to make sure that they find a way. So sometimes you have to present it to them. I mean, in US, we don't have the numbers in Latin America, but like almost 50% of these people are going into clinical depression. Not just like, I'm sad, I'm needing pills to deal with what's happening. So the work is the easiest way to help them. And it's in your hands to actually bring these people together, which is this amazing thing about pandemic that's really connecting us in the ways we never did before. So I want to share some more and how we can invest in relationships and set a cultural North Star. Because, you know, willingness to communicate and flexibility are huge sources of strength right now. So it's easy for remote relationships to fall into a trap of getting straight to the business. I mean, almost all the companies I'm working with, they are just, there's a Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting, and all you do is you become a transactional leader. And it's just like, okay, this is what I need you to do. And it's always just kind of like being concentrated on the inputs. So what you want to do is probably start a meeting with something kind of like an icebreaker. And don't ever turn the camera off, because our dopamine levels increase while we see each other. It's kind of like if I'm sitting here and I'm sharing this with you, and most of you have a camera off, like I'm already feeling lonely. I'm feeling like, okay, people, please love me. And I've been working on myself forever. So and I want to share some icebreakers. I can always send you any slides that you want. You can copy. And so one of the things that we use a lot is like, kids will never understand the struggle of what. So this conversation of like, oh, when I was young, I used dial-up internet, the floppy disk. You remember that? So you get a glimpse of who they are and what they might enjoy as adults. What's the farthest away from home you've been? I mean, this kind of is open interpretation. Everybody's traveled today. It starts kind of, again, knowing what's home. Looking back at the youth, what's your silliest fear? And a lot of these fears we still carry into today, that we can help each other. How do you recognize when you're stressed? What if you knew that a person that's stressed starts eating or drinking or they disappear, and then you can check on them and ask, like, do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to talk? You can talk about their passions. So what do you admire about your childhood? There's so many things that we can actually offer that will help people get to this place of starting a conversation. That's how you build trust. I mean, this is how we connect, right? I'm asking you who you are. I'm sharing my story. I didn't have to, you know, share my story in the beginning, but if we're going to make this kind of empathetic relationship, I wanted you to know where I'm from. Hopefully that kind of landed in a way that you say, okay, I think maybe she can talk about these things about empathy and compassion. I hope so. So what else can you do? You can do a virtual lunch you talked about. You can offer like $25 and the lunch that's not working, but like we're sitting there and eating. You can create learning circles. So you pick a topic once a month, somebody works on it and then presents it to the whole team. They do this a lot at Facebook, and it works tremendously because it expresses a lot of what people are interested in and then connects. You can do who is it? For example, you know, somebody sends in certain things and then you have to guess. You can do word association, which is what I wanted to do right now to test. Like if you can think of your culture and your company, one word, what would you write? Just chat in one word about your culture. Family, great. Team, fast, team. Delivery, okay. Trust, yes, Caroline. Mindset, collaboration, dynamic, communication. Bernardo didn't do his communication.
Yeah, I said fast.
You said fast? Oh, sorry. Of course you did. Hilarious. Communication. It's I think, like, when you look at these words, do you think, now that you've chosen this, that this is the most important part that you do every day? And respect. So, you know, Pamela, not to call you out, but you wrote respect as last. Like, do we all show up in our company being respectful of each other? And if we didn't, this is how you start a conversation. You can work on it as a leader and seeing, like, if Bernie's word out of all the words that he could choose is fast, imagine how his team is working.
Oh, hell yeah. They're going fast, that's fast, absolutely.
Well, it's sometimes going fast, your team can say, like, okay, you're choosing fast, but I was thinking more quality, or I was thinking more connection. And then you can align with each other and knowing what your team needs. It's a really good exercise that, you know, will help you see if you aligned with the rest of the people. So to sorry?
Good exercise. I'd love to hear what each of them, what word they would say. I see Felipe here said dynamic, but yeah, it would be interesting to hear what the team has to say, especially if it's another.
I was trying to say metamorphosis or metamorphosis. I don't know.
Metamorphosis.
Because it's changing. It's like becoming something else.
But also note that this is what you lead with. If communication is important with, this is as a boss what you come with. If respect is important, that's what you're going to do. But you also want to walk your talk. You can't just say, it's important to me to have, I don't know, Pamela put mindset. What does that mean? How do I know what kind of mindset or perspective I'm choosing? And am I actually working on it every day? So what does trust mean? And how Pamela, yes, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I mean, for mindset and respect, for us, it's, I mean, the knowledge you have when you come to work with us is okay, but it's more important for us to, the mindset that people have for grow or for adding more knowledge and respect people and that kind of things, like being human.
That's great. Yeah. And then sometimes we want to do that as a leader, but do we take action steps? So when somebody, you know, sends a message, how do we respond to it? How do I ask an employee to fix something? So it's kind of, we have a lot often, we often have these like values that go around, but we really want to make sure if I put that family as my main value, it has to be number one. So whenever something interferes, I want to be able to say no to the other things, which is kind of like setting our North Star and who we want to be and how we want to have our team. So I'm going to share our next slide. There's a lot of things. So maybe Bernie, you can read just a few.
Whoa.
This is like the Nerd Wallet, their North Star, which they share with everybody, with every new employee, and they want to make sure that everybody kind of follows these action steps. Just read a few. You don't have to do all of them.
So you know people have your back when. So people have your back, it means when they support you, right? When they are with you on board, yeah? Which is a big challenge as a leader, I admit it.
Okay.
And anyone that doesn't is lying. You feel safe enough to let your weaknesses show, and you know that people won't judge you. That is very, very rare. Very rare. You can ask for people without fear of judgment. Again, very, very rare. Your teammates voluntarily help you with a sense of goodwill without expecting anything particular in return. They step up even when they have no obligation to do so. Oh, wow, that would be great.
So you don't have to read all of them, but it's like, I just wanted to give you an example. What would it mean to have action steps to follow what we think the culture should be? So if I want to have a team, which a lot of you wrote down, that means like this team has to create psychological safety. And psychological
the
safety.
Funny thing is, we get clients that ask us, we want people that have this attitude, you know, they have the positive attitude, they do everything great, they get well with the colleagues, but then when you throw the guy in there, then it's like going into the Dungeons and Dragons.
Exactly.
And they expect the person to have an amazing relationship with the colleagues, right? But they throw the guy in there or the girl, and that's it. It's hell. So it's not really the person that needs to have a good attitude, right? Of course they do, but the environment affects a lot as well.
Well, you have to walk the talk. Again, I keep repeating, if I want to be the leader that's patient, and I want to be a leader that, you know, brings collaboration and team, that means I have to be vulnerable. I have to set clear goals. I have to be empathetic. I have to be joyful. That's kind of what trickles down. So I want all of you to think about that part. Is it what I'm saying actually what I'm doing on a daily basis? And if I'm not, what would be the action steps to change that? So this North Star that like the Nerd Wallet has, it reminds them every day that this is what we need to do.
Yeah. Well, I find a big challenge because the issue is you don't learn that. You don't learn that at school. You don't learn that at university. You don't learn anywhere how to be a good leader unless you're lucky enough to have a good leader, or if you're naturally gifted, a nice person, good with people, great. But unless you have a good leader as an example, it's really hard, right?
For me.
If you come from bad leaders before, then you're going to copy them. Yeah, you're going to copy their behavior, because that's all you had, right? Or you have to get coaching, right? So that's why we have people like you. But the issue is obviously most leaders, I guess they just come from technical backgrounds. They're just good at doing their job. And then they get to leadership positions, and nobody taught them how to actually manage a team and to deal with all of these issues, right? So.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So the third way we kind of deal with this, we fight fires with candor. When something happens, it has to be honest. You have to be transparent. You have to be direct, because often we're just kind of like hiding the things in when we make a mistake. And now more than ever, because we can hide behind the screen, and nuance and tone can easily be misread and overlooked, because now we're stiff and we stare at each other. Some people have a resting bitch face. I don't know if you, a lot of you might know this expression. People mix management with leadership mix, exactly. Bruno, you're right. Managers and leaders are two completely different things. And what we're talking about today is leaders. You're making a change. You're understanding who people are. So, you know, just wishing that people will know what you feel is not a winning strategy. So remember that the words are only 7% of the communication. 38% is the tone of the voice, and 55% is our body language and the energy. It's also what we bring from the back. So if you know somebody is not forthcoming, you can say like, I'm having a hard time understanding how you're prioritizing and approaching X. Can you please walk me through your thinking? How do we normally do it? How, when somebody is like not sharing information, what do you usually say?
So you mean when a team member is not sharing information about the issues that they're having, right?
Right. So how do you normally get the information, or you don't? You just wait for the fires to happen, and then you try to put them out.
In my case, I try to. Oh, sorry.
Go.
No, go ahead, please.
Oh, no, I was just saying that in my case, I just try to reframe the purpose of the conversation and the space that we are sharing together, and try to bring again over the table the main like issue or scenario that we are facing, you know. So the thing is that I try to do my best, trying to be more empathetic with the others around me or virtually, given the case, and using like kind of icebreakers from my own perspective, exposing myself, putting myself in the center, so they are more they lower their defense and motivating others to just to lower their guard and be more open and trying to understand better what are their fears or what are their concerns, what are their main objectives that most of the times are overlooked because we are putting in front our own needs and our priorities, and maybe it's just a matter of putting everything over the table and be open and share things together.
And it starts with us, right? And often leaders go into this place like, I have to keep moving fast. I gotta tell you what to do. So it becomes an issue of I can't share because I can't show my vulnerability. And so when you start doing that, you open this path for others to do. And today more than ever, again, because people need to talk, and I keep repeating over and over, we need to share. So the more space you find for that to happen, and the more they know that you care, the better they'll work for you. So the fourth thing is we want to shine the spotlight what good looks like. Often we just kind of miss opportunities to elevate role models of highlight strong examples of best practices and key wins. So it's not that you just want to have the explanation on how they did it or that they did well. You want an explanation on how they did it. So you want them to share their approach, problem-solving chops, you know, challenges and failures with your team. So this is another way where people feel really good because then they get even more elevated. So make all the experts or sources of help on your team as visible as possible. And now because we're online, we keep looking at these things. You can make like what good looks like a bi-monthly initiative, like really shining light on these cultural, you know, traits that you want to enforce, or you want to make sure that they happen in your company. So if you want vulnerability and you want people to commit errors, then you're going to shine light on it. And everybody else will feel comfortable to do so. So one of the most important things for your employees is recognition. So again, Gallup is talking about like almost 80% of the people say recognition is important. And 7 out of 10 feel that they motivate day work and productivity. So what do you do? How do you recognize your people? Just chat in. Like what's one thing you do to make sure they feel recognized? Make public statements of gratitude. So you do shine light on what's good. Positive feedback, great. Digital kudos. Sending gifts, books. Positive compliments. The words are so important. Appreciation is like number one. Why people leave companies when they don't feel appreciated. I hear myself. Give the visibility. How do you give the visibility, Stephanie? present their accomplishments to other teams members and stakeholders whenever it's possible. Public compliments. That's great. So let me show you some that Gallup has showed that people have talked about what's really important. So they wanted a nice handwritten note from their manager. They want you to recognize that they have kids at home. Give them like half days off on Friday because they're always plugged in. Check in with their mental health, which is what we're talking. They just want you to ask them how they are and not start the meetings with like what they need to do. Ask people what timetables work for them. Provide more mental health days. It's keeps being a pattern, and I keep repeating it so you know how important it is, how lonely and overwhelmed people might be feeling. Give positive feedback, which a lot of you are doing. Acknowledge work-life balance, virtual social hours, award time off for space when safely returned to the office, recognition problems, better communication. None of these cost, and they create a tremendous, tremendous appreciation. The other one that you can use that cost, you can send home gifts, you can send Uber Eats cards, pay for the internet, bonus money, supplies, order masks with pictures of the family, do happy hours and pay for it, buy lunch, or pay the essential workers. Even that is not really a lot of money that you can use, and they would feel extremely appreciated. So number 5, connect the dots relentlessly. Do you like my elephant?
It's beautiful. Can I just say the best present that everyone loves ever is alcohol, guys. Alcohol, chocolates, that kind of thing. Let's just be honest here, okay? Let's just be honest.
It didn't make the list, but I think they just didn't want to admit it in their official polling. Okay. So it's important that you constantly tell people what needs to be done, where you are. You want to connect these dots, and it's important that you say why and how all the time, because how you think strategically and problem solve, it really helps them to know what they need to do next. And you won't be able to consult all the time, and you shouldn't, because leaders who make themselves indispensable turn into bottlenecks or crutches. So explain not decisions and strategies, but also why. Always write relentlessly why you're making a decision. So how many of you had parents who said, because I say so? And how many of you liked it? I definitely didn't. So you don't want to be the boss that just kind of tells, this is what I want you to do, and this is why I want you to do. I didn't like it, exactly. So want to make sure that you relentlessly share how and why, and you want to record the meetings, and you want to make sure that people can see whatever you have thought about or how you want certain strategies to be used. Create touch points. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody does. Before, we would swing by the desk, we'll grab a conference, and room and catch up. Now we need to have these checkpoints on a daily basis. So how do we not intentionally undermine our team? I know we're over time, but you let me know what you feel. We have kind of waited 10 to 15 minutes for everybody to come in. So is everybody okay to just, 10 minutes? Okay. I'm sorry if we went over. Okay. Oh, thanks, Marcelo. I need some love. Okay. So we have to share the information consistently. So the more transparent and clear you are, like, do you tell people what you want? You can tell them if you prefer chat or email, what's the best way to put the work in. Are you cool with impromptu calls? I found this video from CEO of Culture Amp, and he actually did this for everybody to know what he needs and created a tremendous change. So let's just watch a short 1-minute video.
Sound?
Can't hear it.
You have to take the mute off, Tony.
The mute. No.
I think you need to share the audio when you share the content.
Oh.
Move quickly.
Okay.
There you go.
Go back.
Can't hear it.
Okay. Ahora sí.
Can you turn it up? No, that didn't work. Jasenka, we can't hear it. Let's just skip it or open it on YouTube.
Okay. Okay.
Send us,
Send us
the link.
Okay. We'll send the link. Me escucho, amor. Okay. We'll send a link. Basically, what he gave like 5 points and how he wants his employee to bring in the work. Like he's a big picture guy, so don't give me a bunch of details. I think it's kind of like you can do this video and you can share it all the time. I thought it was super brilliant in the way that you don't have to repeat yourself over and over. It can just be on the Slack and people can look into it. And what you don't want to do is play favorites. This is like really the culture killer in the world. You want to make sure that you treat people because it creates a lot of insecurity. Okay, so this is the big one. We can't help ourselves, but we all want to know these answers. Are people really working as much as they did in the office? How can I best track their performance? Can you work from home and stay productive? So what you don't want to do is get into the stigma that people are not working or that they are drinking tea. Actually, you want to trade time tracking for trust. So don't waste your valuable time, because they've done this study and they realized in 8-hour workday, actually people work 2 hours and 53 minutes, literally. Everything else is just kind of, getting coffee, getting to the refrigerator, being on social media.
Oh, hell no. Not on the bridge, they don't. Marcus, that's true. Hell no.
But it's like between what you think they're doing and so what you want is to allow people to choose their time. And, what you don't want is for them to be obsessed with tracking, inputs. So usually what happens is that you emphasize inputs as a measure of productivity. Hours worked, email sent, calls made, message response, and they're easy to quantify. So we think we have kind of control over what's really happening. And in your reality, what happens that leads to constant interruptions, busy work, burnout, and more often than stellar results. So on the other side, what you really want to focus on is the outputs. So if your employees code, let them code. Don't pull them into multiple meetings. Don't interrupt with messages. Like, let them do high impact tasks, create scores for them, clearly articulated goals so you can check in once a day or once a week. Okay, so Bernie, can you read this fabulous email for me?
Folks, as many of us settle into working from home, now's a good chance to get on the same page about what realistic that entails and how we can best support one another. Whilst you're working from home, you should respond within just a few minutes to a Slack or Google Hangout message from your colleagues. Great. Let your manager know when you're taking a break, conducting an interview, in a meeting, or will otherwise be unavailable for a while. Exactly. If you have to go to the toilet, just let your manager know. Make sure your cell phone number is readily accessible in your email signature, in your Slack status, in Workday, etc. Keep your phone's ringer turned on and answer when it rings. now is not the time to screen calls. Great, right? So it doesn't matter where you are, just keep the bloody thing switched on, right?
So who thinks this is the right way to write an email to your employees?
I hope nobody.
Bernie seems to think it's fine.
No, I'm only joking, guys.
No, I know, of course. So it's under no circumstances make sure that like you're constantly checking on people and give, like you want to give them explicit guidelines, what you expect, like in this video, but you know, not these minute by minute thing. Like you can't go to the bathroom without telling me. And this is a real email, which is really, really sad. So you want to make sure, like if you write these type of emails, what happened is burnout. And remote workers are working more than we ever have because we have these blurry boundaries, like all of you do. You just don't know when to stop. You don't know, like, it's the end of the day. Is it a Friday? Is it a week? Is it a catastrophic event? So the burnout is a result of overload of input. So if you watch yourself carefully, you might not be the transitioning between too many activities. Too often is what causes burnout. It's not what we do, it's not our output, but it's this constant tiredness of going one thing to the next and never getting into the space that we want to know. So what most people do is compound activity after activity. There's no transition. 90 days over is an input. We're on the phone, we're answering email, we're having meetings, we're doing the work, we're doing more work, we're catering to other people, we're checking our email again, and on and goes. So who can relate? Just raise your hand. It's because I think this is what most of us are doing today. And this really can, you know, lead to burnout. So I want to give you just few things to know how to recognize work from home burnout. So you also know for yourself or other people, you lose track of tasks. Like it feels like everything is overwhelming. You don't complete work on time. You go through mood changes and everybody in your house knows, even your dog, the cat. You feel hopeless, you know, you lose interest. You feel apathetic, discouraged. You're not sleeping well. And this is your alcohol coming in. So Bernie, do not send people alcohol. They are already having issues. And don't send them chocolate so they can get even more pounds on. Because most people gain 10 kilos. No. That's definitely where you don't want to be. So how do we overcome the burnout? It's really important that you don't turn into this toast. So one thing you want to do is not jump from activity to activity. Don't book your whole day with input. You know, you encourage social activity, encourage disconnection from work. So when you as a leader do it, you send a message that, like, if they can't reach me after 6, it's because I want them to rest. Don't praise the early birds. Like, so if they ever come on, oh, that's amazing, because others will think they have to do it. Don't expect immediate responses from the team. Remember, outputs over inputs, and do not micromanage. So if you are this guy,
that's really funny.
If you're this guy, don't be. Okay, so if you want to prevent, which is what I usually do, after work session, read. After Zoom meeting, you know, go sit outside for 5 to 10 minutes. After morning of working, have lunch with your significant partner, with your roommate. So when you separate them, the transition becomes like a recharge moment. So one last tip I want to give you so you don't or you address the teams and work, is that you have to know there's different personalities and you can't treat everybody same. Because sometimes we're so busy that we think my method of leadership is also what everybody else needs. You can make these blanket declarations how you want people to be, because parents deal differently with, again, the ones who live alone, and they need to be addressed. So you want to make sure that you kind of ask things, who's introverted or extroverted. So maybe you make a list of your team, and then who needs more guidance, who needs check-in, who thrives on autonomy, so I leave these people alone. Who do I want to pair up for best results? Where's the best opportunity for each person to shine? How much scheduling and flexibility can you afford? So it's make sure that this is a possibility so everybody feels you really care about them and feels like you're looking into what they need and not what you need. Okay.
Jasenka, one
Yes.
thing that I guess we didn't mention is that we're doing like a weekly meditation session, and that's really fun as well.
Of course. I
Like
mean,
an
weekly.
online meditation.
Ah, that's great. I mean, it can be something you do on a daily basis because it's 10 minutes or at the end of the workday. I think these all help people to even learn their new habits. Okay, so if you're working from home, let's go really quick to these. Like you want to have a comfortable working setup because your home has suddenly become your office, and we don't know how you want to do this. So this little guy is saying that I am, oh, I can't see it. I got blind. I can't remember. Do I work?
can't remember.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do I work at home or do I live at work? This is like the reality of most of us today. So you have to make some sacrifices. Make sure you separate things. You choose your spot wisely. Don't be where the TV is or the kids. You try to separate the main areas from the other.
Yep.
Have the right tools for the job. Get a really good chair. Invest in your laptop riser, external keyboard, mouse. These things seem they're not important, but they are. Avoid home productivity traps. Do not work in front of the TV. Really not good. Besides, it's going to hurt your neck. Set boundaries with people. So if your kids are in one place, you want to be another one. If you're working with your significant other, make sure you have breaks or schedule when they're with the kids, when the other are not. So while all this, kids, partners, roommates can be a big distraction, you really want to protect yourself from yourself. Because like watching TV and doing household talks, it's totally doable. Wrong. It's probably not what works. So this is the one of my clients, kidding, that he wrote for his team how his day passes. Okay, so my quarantine routine: 7 a.m. I wake up, 8 a.m. I wake up, 9 a.m. I wake up this time for real, 10 a.m. self-sabotage, 11 a.m. I open Twitter, and 5 p.m. I close Twitter. 6 p.m. I crush myself with guilt over unreplied emails for the day. 7 p.m. yoga, meditation, just know it's snacks. And 4 a.m. bedtime. So you'll be surprised. I think you're all people that work a lot, but a lot of people are like running in the loop of self-sabotage and procrastination. So what you want to really think about how this help you, how many of you heard about Pomodoro method? Raise your hand. Okay. So probably, I don't know if you haven't heard, but if you haven't, this is normally what you do is you have a 45-minute or 25-minute, and then you get a break. So you put the alarm on, you turn your notifications, you work really hard for 45 minutes, and then you take your dog out. But don't do the same thing at dog walker, kitchen cleaner, bed maker, all at the one. And you want to make sure that your remote work mimics your real work day, because you weren't at work until 9 or 10. So this slide maybe explains better. So what's wrong from the left and right side? Who can explain it for me?
The interruptions.
Mm-hmm.
On the left side, the number of different things. I remember I read an article in the New York Times about what it was like for parents, which is what it's like for me, which is the day was subdivided into parts, and then the parts were subdivided into parts. And
of course, that's the inputs we're talking about. It's constant one thing after another, bombarding. And so what we have on the right side is like the outputs. From 8 to 11, I'm going to work on plan proposal. I'm going to turn off notifications. I am, my phone is going to be on airplane mode, and I'm going to knock this out. I check email twice a day. It's not like constant thing of like going back, and study in Stanford has done that. Every time you get distracted, it takes you 15 minutes to come back to things. So 4 messages and you haven't done anything for an hour. It's really important to kind of like make sure how you do your days by these colors. They're not like small tiny things that create so much stress. Oh, sorry, Carolina.
Oh, I love that tip that you gave me as well, Jasenka, about taking WhatsApp out of the computer.
Exactly.
Deleting. I don't use WhatsApp in the computer anymore. It's so liberating because you don't have the thing bleeping all the time, and it's here on the phone, but at least I can put it away, right?
Exactly.
So much better. So much better.
Most notifications, and even on the phone, you want to take off like all the little red dots, because it's so hard. We have such addiction, because every time we see a red dot, it releases dopamine levels, which is this connection time and a feel-good hormone. This is why it's not that we want to read the email. All we want to do is just check on it and then not read it or not reply to it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Carolina. Okay, so let's go fast. I want you to end, just keep going. You're gonna miss this? Okay, so I want you to end on a high note. Like, forgive yourself if you didn't finish, show gratitude, do somebody a favor. It's really important. So also at some point, what you want to do is do 3 simple things that you make sure that you do for you pay yourself first. So what I do, I read or listen for something for pleasure, I enjoy my cup of coffee, and I do meditation yoga every day. So I found when I do these 3 things, I start work without feeling guilty. So I paid myself, now I can go back and pay my clients. Make sure you have these non-negotiables. So, and this last part is like when you finish work, you really, really, really finish work. And one thing that has worked for a lot is like at 6 o'clock, schedule something that you have to stop. Like, you know, finger painting with your kids, or take a class, or piano. So you know at that time I have to finish and the work is done. It will help you more in how you recuperate in your brain cells and give yourself a break. Okay, I know none of this is rocket science. You've really heard about it. So do you think that we have addressed the issues of working remotely, you know, people connecting? Did I give you some tips that you can use that will be helpful to how you create more empathy?
Yes.
Do you have any questions? Okay. Oh, thank you. Super. I was hoping this will kind of give just little tiny tips of how we create more empathy with people. So what was most valuable? Tell me one thing that you remember out of this that you're going to use after. One thing. And I need 20 answers because there's 20 people on the call. I'm looking at you, Ellen, just because you're on my screen right now. Okay, organizing my time more efficiently. So you're going to use the Pomodoro method. Exactly. Great ideas on what to measure in terms of, okay, great. Comfort zone and organizing myself. Great, Ellen. Trying not to burn and take care. Less fragmented attention. Connecting the dots relentlessly is my favorite. Oh, great. I like the rings. So we're getting into zone 3, which zone 2 is what we talked about, this remote work, or kind of creating empathy and allowing the team to feel comfortable, because this is the team that propels you to do really amazing things. And if you don't take care of them, they're all going to be, you know, dying under kids' work projects or being alone. Increase the recognition of my team. Happy hour.
Jasenka, I just want to complain. I want to make a complaint because you said that we can't give them alcohol, but on the other slide you told us to do a happy hour. So how the hell am I supposed to do a happy hour with no alcohol?
You can do happy hour just being happy.
Oh, come on.
Okay, Marcos, yes, increase the recognition of my team. Really, really, really important. And remember, there's things that cost and many of things that do not cost anything that you can use. Really, really easy to do so.
Brilliant.
Okay. All right. Try to do virtual coffee meetings. You should have something every single day. It should be Mondays without meat. No, I'm kidding. There should be Mondays without meat. Tuesdays, you know, happy hours. Wednesday, the parents meet. Thursdays, you do a movie night. Friday you do a game night. I know it seems like a lot, especially if you have a lot of people, but you do want to make sure that the ones who are lonely get to connect. And I keep stressing this because every day that's what I'm hearing, people feeling lonely. Okay.
Well, I'm certainly not lonely today with all these wonderful people in here. So my heart is warm and fuzzy, and it's lovely to hear you again, Jasenka. So thank you so much for helping us look into,
I want to just give one last thing and what we do in these sessions. And Antonio will share what Fast Forward is all about. So we are this life-changing coaching program, and it's tailored to today's needs. Like, it's a never done work for us. And what makes us different from a lot of other people or companies is the whole life approach. Like, so what I talked about today is what we really, really work on a lot, in including not just your work life, but personally what you need to do. So you expand and seeing what's possible. You see improvements in engagement, productivity, cultures. So you would leave with the bold vision, you leave with the 9-day plan, and improve resilience, confidence, relationship, communication. So this is how, like, almost 90% of the people, and we've done this with over 50,000 or 60,000 Fast Forward participants, they think bigger, take risk, vision for success, have improved the communication, and they found a job satisfaction because they can just get these audacious goals to happen. Okay, so this is how the program looks like. It's a 6-week program. It's a 90-minute. This is what I was saying. I used to travel and then do a whole day retreat, which would have to pull out 30 most important people for 6 to 7 hours, and that was too much. Now we can address everybody in 90 days in 6 sessions. So in week 1 and 2, with a clear, bold vision. And there's 7 questions about what do I want to be known for? Kind of like my question, the girl that was in the war, to somebody that wants to share the experiences, make a difference in the world. What are your personal changes? How do you want to improve your relationships at work, with yourself, with others? In the first 2 weeks, that's where we work. And then we have the buddy meeting where we pair up people to actually find somebody that can help them through whatever they're going through. So the 4th week is about planning the work. You meet again in the 5th week, and then we choose a new perspective in our life. So if anybody's interested in more, knowing how this looks like, how it improves your team, you just let me know. Okay, so that being said, I'm done. I'm so sorry for...
Amazing.
I had so much more to say, and then it's never enough time. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jasenka. So thank you everyone for joining. I know we're a bit over time, but I don't know you, but at least I feel grateful, and I think this was a great moment for us to reflect a little bit, get out of our routines, and learn and evolve together. So thank you all. Thank you also for those who participated actively, contributing. Matthias, I see you, Emiliano, everyone that took part. Thank you. Relax. Take care of each other. Take care of your pets. Take care of your old ones. And hug everyone and stay close. Yeah.
And any questions, you can send an email to me, to Bernie. Any help you might need, I'm here to.
We're going to email you with Jasenka's details as well, so you can get in touch. Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.